Hello, everyone. Welcome to this new episode of People Led Show, where I'm interviewing and meeting CHROs from Southeast Asia region. In this episode, I speak to Ichsan, who is the CHRO of AIA Indonesia. Apart from excelling at people and HR function, Ichsan has also excelled in handling other C-level responsibilities like leading operations, government relations, IT, and even legal. He's a firm advocate of people and culture. And in this conversation, we talk a lot of things about new technology, automations, and of course, AI and HR. This conversation was pre recorded in the month of December. So you might see certain context or hear certain context with respect to that period of the year. And if you like this episode, please share it with other people leaders and drop us a comment, and we'll make sure that we probably inculcate newer suggestions in the upcoming episodes. So here it is. Super. Thank you so much, Ixon, for taking out the time to do this. I'm very, very thrilled. I think all the lists that are out there, top 100 HR leaders from Southeast Asia, top
Mm.
leaders from the Indonesia and everywhere, you're always there in those lists. And I'm really glad that I've got the opportunity to talk to you and host you on our show. So thank you so much for doing this.
Well, my pleasure to be talking to you and sharing my experiences. Glad to
Super.
be here.
Yeah. Excellent. So there's one question that I ask all my CHROs that I host on the show, which
Mm.
is who are you outside of work? Because I do understand when you are a CHRO and a leader, it becomes like it's sometimes all about work. But who are you outside of work? And what are you doing when you're not wearing your CHRO hat?
Yes, I'm quite different when I'm not on the job, right? Actually, I'm a laid back person, and at the job you're required to lead and to sometimes be directive or leading people. But on my pastimes, I just like to hang out with friends, and I made it a purpose on my weekends to really wind down and do my hobbies. I'm generally more like a sports person, a day person. So I don't particular type of guy who goes out at night. Usually, my activities are in the morning, and by the afternoon, I'll be in the sofa watching Netflix or YouTube.
Oh wow, that's nice. That's great to hear. And I'm also a completely sports person and a day person. Um,
Mm.
so glad that and probably when we meet in Indonesia, we'll go for a sport or something. But yeah, thank you so much for answering that and starting on that note. How would you summarize AIA's people strategy? Like, do you have a method or certain philosophies that you have built the entire people function or the people strategy into? What are some, let's say, one, two philosophies or visions that you have set as a people leader for the organization?
Yeah, I think in general, I think what the business is going through, right? Like many other businesses, I think we are focusing on really making our uh, business more customer centric, right? And a lot of transformation in technology as well that comes into play. And that, for me, in terms of the people side, we need we are actually doing a lot of capability building and also culture shift and mindset shift, right? So we need to operate at more agile, more nimble. We need people who have growth mindset, who are data driven. So majority of our strategies revolve around upskilling of people, uh, recruiting talents that in specific areas where uh, we are either very core industry skills or TDA skills, and also shifting mindset with of the entire population, so that we can operate cross functionally. We have we are also embedding new ways of working, like agile teams across the different areas to get things done. So these are like the major themes that we are doing to make sure that our organization and our people are adaptable to the changing environment and also the
Yeah.
technology adoption. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had already parked all these questions for you, which is with respect to cultural shift, growth
Mm.
mindset, technology adoption, and being more agile and everything. But before I get into this, um, I think I have also been in my previous organization in an environment like this. And most of the times when it is very fast paced and agile,
Mm.
sometimes some of the employees might feel I don't want to say fatigued, but they
Mm.
might feel like okay, they are lagging behind and the environment is moving too fast. Um,
Mm.
how have you been able to manage certain employees who are maybe not that agile or fast paced in terms of technology adoption or other things? Because I'm sure you come across as a very empathetic leader as well. So how do you manage different set of people?
Yeah, I think it's it will happen, right? Because I think out of 100% of the population, 10 to 20% will adopt things very quickly, but then the rest of the organization might just be behind that. And what we are doing here in AIA is to also make sure that our leaders are also equipped to manage a diverse workforce, right? So we have now in the workforce multi generational, and then we also have a lot of Gen Zs are entering the workplace, combining with the millennials and people from the industry, people from outside the industry, people with tech skills. So we are equipping our leaders to be able to mentor and coach a team, right? So we need to make sure that we don't we coach everybody to be able to perform, regardless of where their background is. Yeah. So I think that's also part of the fundamental change that in this what we call digital transformation that need to happen. A lot of pressures for leaders and managers to be able to bring their team along and also understand the current issues that are happening in the workforce, such as mental well-being, mental health, right, and also diversity, equity, and inclusion. And all of these things are new to many of the leaders, and they need to be able to adapt to it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I actually read on some of your LinkedIn post about a leadership center program. Is this part of your upskilling and the other programs that you've been leading, or this is something else? Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, in AIA we have a AIA Leadership Center in Bangkok. So we that basically a centralized unit in the group of AIA to when they develop programs for leaders, and we send different levels of leadership in each of a country where AIA operates to the leadership center. And yeah, this is to make sure that we have also networking across the different markets,
Yeah,
and but also to make sure that we get world class development programs for our best talents.
yeah,
And complementary to that, we each of the country, and like in Indonesia, we also have our own leadership programs. We don't send everyone to Bangkok, so we have also leadership programs here that we are doing for the remainder of the talents that we have.
got it. One common, challenge that I have observed, at
Mm,
least in Indian and US related
mm,
organization, is um, your CXOs and let's say VPs have the great leadership programs and everything, but for it to translate into managers
mm,
or senior managers or let's say right till the intern as well of the organization, sometimes that translation of values or core
mm,
skills is like not happening. Um,
mm.
how would you recommend somebody who's gonna watch this or read about this maybe later? How can they solve for that? How can they translate those values right from the CXO till the intern of the organization?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we are doing, and I think it's happening in different places, is we're actually almost deconstructing the silos. We are in AIA, we have a relatively flat organization. So anyone, even from the lower ranks in the organization, can actually have meetings with the CXOs, and I think this is a powerful, an impactful change because those cultural changes, those values, are manifested in the way we interact, right? So I think it's important for leaders. We have lots of meetings, whether it be online or offline, right? And whatever behaviors that you or values that you want to espouse, that should be manifested and role model during these interactions, right? We have maybe agile meetings, or we have regular meetings, weekly meetings, or reports, or what have you. And the values, for example, for us, there are three different values or behaviors that we are espousing: courage, clarity, and humanity. And these are three things that we want our CXOs to demonstrate. And of course, when you have a flatter organization, you have very dynamic organization. You can see directly what the leaders are, how the leaders are behaving, and what is condoned and what is incentivized by the leaders and the organization. And
Yeah,
that's, to me, is the only way to actually sustain any value or behavior change. Yeah.
yeah. Makes sense actually, and I think I've observed a lot of other CHROs also implementing this, so this might definitely help. I want to touch upon the digital transformation that the HR department is like facing
Mm,
right now. Of course, we have the HRMS and the management platforms like a Workday or Darwinbox and multiple others that might be
mm,
out there. But there is this AI revolution also that's happening, especially with respect to, let's say, automating certain tasks or
mm,
feedback
mm,
surveys or all of those things. Um,
mm.
how much have you started adopting? How much are you planning to adopt maybe in the coming few years? Do you want to unpack that a little bit for us?
Yeah, yeah. I think we started in implementing one of the cloud HR platform about three years ago or 4 years ago, and ever since then, I think we've gradually automated a lot of the HR operations, like things that would occupy a lot of the used to be personnel administration work,
Yeah,
like claim reimbursements and questions that would normally be occupying HR people to through calls, like knowing my leave balances and claiming my reimbursements or changing my personal data, right? All of those things have either become self-service, right, or
mm,
have become like automated through to robots. And I think this evolution will continue, right? One of the key things in that we're experiencing is that once you have a good platform and you've automated some of the more menial tasks, I think the next level of AI that we could leverage things like Gen AI, things like that. We need to also make sure that we have a good data set.
yeah,
So I think not only this data, HR is actually rife with employee data, right? People movements, and people get to training. You need to update, skill profiles. You need to make sure it's there. People not only work in AIA, but before they come to join us, maybe they have other experiences and skills. We need to make sure that they are all there,
Yeah,
and having the right roles profiles assigned to the jobs and things like that. To me, I think are the fundamentals that we are working on to make sure that we the next level capability that we're building will be will be fruitful. Yeah, if you don't have the right data, then it's hard to actually have a meaningful insight. Yeah, on
yeah.
the AI. Mm.
And especially with, the generational diversity increasing and, the Gen Zs coming into workplace, I think this technological adoption becomes even more important.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
definitely,
yeah, yeah. And I think it's all now. Is people have jobs, right? But now I think we need to understand skills level, right? Because organizational needs change quite often.
yeah,
Sometimes we need someone who has a certain type of skills. They might not be reflected in the job title, but they
yeah,
might actually do it somewhere in the projects that they do. And these things are usually very, very hard to capture, right? Unless you know the person and, oh, so and so has actually done this before, then maybe no, if we have thousands of people, it's you have to to use technology to do this, and in order for technology to work, then you actually have to make sure that these skills are documented as people grow within the company, and the
yeah.
platforms actually can be used to store those information. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad that we spoke about this and also about generational diversity. It's becoming a very hot topic across HR leaders from across the globe, not just in Indonesia. So I'm glad that we touched upon this. Um, I'm going to come to my last set of like questions, and this is more about understanding your journey and also where do you see the next few years as a people function might become. So the first question I want to ask you from this set is, what has been some of the biggest challenges that you have faced as a people leader across your journey, not just currently right now at AIA, but in the span of last 20-25 years? What have been some of the biggest challenges and how did you like overcome them as a people leader?
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that. Somebody asked me this question and gets me to reflect on my career, and I think it's interesting to my career actually has been quite uh, uh, not ordinary for an HR person. So I've been in HR roles in between my consulting role. Uh, so I've also seen other companies what they do and what they're trying to what they're struggling with. Uh, Maybe 10 years ago, when I was CHRO for a different industry in a different company, the challenge was very different from being a CHRO today, right? The issues are different, like you said, like things like ESG,
Yeah,
diversity, all these things were not there, right? And I think, but uh, maybe even up to 5 years ago, there's a lot of HR functions that are still uh, trying to get the foundations right, the hygiene factors right. So getting the people services, employee services, uh, be customer centric, having the right employee experience for these services. And I think today it's much more abstract. I mean, we're talking already more strategic things, more human impact level. So, for example, uh, just making sure that we have the right people in the right with the right skills at the right role, right? So
yeah.
uh, it sounds simple, but it's not. It's not simple.
Yeah,
So sometimes you have to be uh, to figure out what is the journey for our employees, maybe 3 to 5 years down the road. Like because the jobs are not static anymore,
okay.
and it to me, I think the biggest challenge is to make sure our people are have a growth mindset and adaptable to the changing environment. To me, it's that's the hardest part because
Yeah.
you want the organization to be as agile as possible. You don't know what's going to happen in 2 3 years time, and what keeps the weight out of your mind is you have if you have talents that are actually also agile, so you don't actually need to, if there is an issue in the organization, if every time we have to find somebody from the external to fill in the gap, that's hard because bringing in talent from outside also is a risk on its own, right? You need
Yeah.
to make sure they're onboarded correctly, they have the right culture, you have the right collaboration. But if you have people that are, you know, 80% of you people can actually be adaptable and be, rotated to do different things at different points in time, and they want to grow and things like that, that makes your life a lot easier. So, but this is hard to achieve, right? I think
Yeah.
changing people's behavior is it's much harder than
Yeah.
putting in place new technology or processes.
Yeah, yeah. I also feel that, and this is something the CEO of LinkedIn recently talked about, that now nobody is having a linear or a conventional path of career, because things are changing so dynamically, that what maybe if you plan for 5 years, your
Mm,
people function, the skills that you require, the roles that you are like that are being created in organizations are completely like changing. um,
mm,
so that's also one thing that I have also personally observed, that no two CHROs that may be created maybe 10 years from now would have the same path
mm,
to that position. So I think that that non-linear curve of
mm,
career path is also now happening drastically. And of
mm,
course, the Gen Z is coming now to workplace, so that's also going to have an interesting impact. Um, I wanted to know from you, what is something that makes a great HR leader. Like, of course, we have talked about digital adoption. We have talked about being empathetic leader. We talked about embracing change management. But what are, let's say, top three traits of a great HR leader? What do you think are the three traits?
To me, I think being very attuned to the environment, right? Uh, you have to be able to quickly sense the pulse of the organizations at different levels. Uh, that means to me is personally you cannot be too self-centered. You have to actually look at things how people see things and uh, try to process that in a positive way for you to be able to react to it.
Yeah,
And that's number one. Number two, I think uh, HR leaders nowadays need to be uh, very business uh, oriented. You have to have the business acumen to be able to understand what the business is going through, what the people in the ground, your sales force, right, your operations guys are going through,
yeah,
uh, and be empathetical to their situations. And to me, uh, that requires somebody who uh, have the competent HR skill sets, but
yeah,
then also have the generalist skill set to be able to understand and speak to the business. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
uh, yeah, I
I
think
think,
those are the two things that to me that are very critical, yeah, to for leaders.
yeah.
Mm, yeah.
I think business acumen is definitely something that I've heard from a lot of people that I've hosted on the show. That's something that has become like a necessity. Probably 20 years back, it wasn't a necessity, but today
Mm,
it's definitely like a necessity. And I'm glad that you mentioned Salesforce,
mm,
and like that they should be aware about, okay, what's happening, what our revenue is, where are our projections. So I think that's equally important for an HR leader today. My last question, and this is something that I want to know from you, that what do you think the year 2024, has in store for CHROs or the HR department in general? We've talked about technology adoption and using Gen AI. So I think that's definitely like a common that, because that's happening across departments. What are some things that you feel the next year is gonna have for the HR department?
Well, it's a good question. Nowadays, to be honest, sometimes you feel like there's a general theme, but there's no real, specific things that you can really pinpoint to, because you have to be adaptable to whatever situation you have. But
Yeah,
to me, I think to me in 2024, we still need to focus on a few key things, right? I think to me, attracting and retaining the talents that you need in doing the business. That's number one. Number two, I think, is to uh, continue to build that the capability of our people to be able to have that growth mindset and agile ways of working, and to have uh, the to make sure that there's the right people are in the right jobs. That's basically it. But the culture building part to me is a theme that would probably be take a few years to develop, because the dynamics in the organization is quite high. You're bringing in talent from outside, but also you're trying to change people who are already inside, right? And this takes time for the dynamics to gel and to make sure that you have the right combinations of skills and also operating at the same value. Yeah, and
yeah.
to me, that's still to me the major focus. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And as in more and more people come into the organization, that culture impact and has to be kept intact. So I think that correlation, that balance also becomes like very, very important. But
Yeah.
thank you so much, Iksan, for I think doing this. I did not realize when we're done with time, and it felt like a coffee conversation with a friend. So thank you so much for being candid, open, and insightful at the same time. I'm really, really glad that we did this, and I am hopefully going to meet you soon in person as well. So we'll do longer conversations at that time. But yeah, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Pawan. It's my pleasure. I think these kinds of conversations, sometimes you ask questions that I don't normally think about, because you on the day-to-day basis you react to things, and when you ask these questions, it forces me to reflect and to to see what patterns are and what I need to think about also in the future. Thank you so much.
Sure. I'm gonna ask you more questions in person, which will be off recording. So we'll do a lot more thinking when we meet in person.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah, thank you so much, Iksan, once again.